Welcome today to the 15th CASH event. Uh, we've touched on various topics in the past. We've shared all our experiences and best practices, but this one's the closest to my heart because I'm an Indian and we've been talking about the COVID crisis in India. So let me start by sharing my screen. So just a few, can you all see my screen there?
Yes.
Great, thank you. A few housekeeping rules which we always go through. We won't have a break in between, but you're free to put yourself on, put your camera off, take a small break and come back if you wish to. Otherwise, it's a short 1.5-hour session with discussions. Please put yourself on mute so you don't disturb the speaker unless you wish to speak. We'd like to welcome Mr. Gurmeet Singh Hanzara, the president of the Gurudwara of Shri Guru Singh Sabha Hounslow in Hounslow, and also Mr. Satwinder Paul Ahadan. Welcome to our CASH event, and thank you for your time today. The Sikh community has always been hands up every time you need any, if there's any crisis around the world. I mean, they've always been the first ones to stand up and support. So we'd like to hear more from you on that. Over to you. Over to you, Mr. Gurmeet Singh.
Yeah, you handing over to us?
Yes, please. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'll pass it to Mr. Hanzara. Padi.
Okay. Good morning, dear sisters and brothers. Thank you for having us. We're going to talk about first the common values all the human race have, and it's very much close to my heart, and it's very much the gurus wanted the whole world to be one word, one human race, beyond boundaries, beyond colors, language, creed, so on. As we are one big family of one human race, our joys and sufferings are same. Just like our body, one part hurts, whole body suffers. Same way, any human sufferings anywhere in the world affects us all. Our creating power, whatever name you want to give, I'm happy with that. I'm happy to join you with that name. Is same. We are siblings, we are brothers and sisters, one united big family. We cannot divide our big family on the name of religion, color, language, and politics. Because I think, after all, politicians use all these differences to gain their votes and divide us and give us more suffering. I do believe everyone have right to believe whatever way they like to connect to creating power. Today, humanity is so badly divided on the name of religion. Everyone want to look after people from their faith. We have to ask ourselves, who's going to look after the humanity? If we are one human race, so our moral duty is to look after whole humanity, not just one color, from people from one nation or for one faith. So we are united in this. I feel very pained when I see people just want to serve a particular faith community. They forget that we are one big family. I just want to share you one something I saw on BBC News and NDTV. A charity working name as United Sikhs in Delhi, collecting dead bodies of COVID patients and they are from all faiths. And what they do, if they are Hindus, they cremate them. If they are Sikhs, they cremate them. If they are Christians or Muslims, they take to the graveyards. And they went to collect a body in big rich colony. This gentleman had died. His wife was suffering with COVID. Couldn't help. Daughter was far away, and she called this charity called United Sikhs. Two of the gentlemen's young man went to collect the body. The body was in second floor. So two men would not able to carry the body downstairs. Body was heavy. They asked all the colony humans, they were from different faiths, to come and help them to carry the body downstairs. Everybody refused. They offered them kits, proper protection, but they refused. Eventually, two young men carried body downstairs, and I was literally in tears. I said, "What happened to humanity? It's not just one human died. I think with that, humanity died." So that's the strength of feelings I suffered, and it's day in day out, same thing happening. I mean, Sikh Gurdwaras have set up so many langars that was earlier just was food. Now there's something called a new langar, which is oxygen langar in Delhi Gurdwaras. So 200 people, 300 people, the pipes being set up. If charitable organizations can do the work, I'm sure government can do more than that. But I think whereby Europe and America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, England, they have really done well. Their politicians, their civil servants have really done well to look after us all. But people like Brazil or India, their leadership failed people. And it hurts because they were elected to serve the people. And, and when I see so much happening and a basic necessity of oxygen hasn't been provided, it hurts. It's very painful. And as a charity organization, since COVID started, we have like tried our best to help people over here as well. We have served many families. We have people from Muslim faith approach us and ask for help. We help them. People from Hindu faith approach us. We help them. One thing we do is we don't look anybody's religion or color or language or their belief system before we serve them. To us, everybody is equal. And that's what we do in Gurdwara. And we feel our duty, religious and moral duty, to serve all, because nobody can divide humanity. The Guru Nanak given one simple example when he started the scriptures. He put number one first, then the letters, because letters and words can be twisted. Good thing with mathematics is numbers can't be. So he put one number first and then the creating power. So one creating power. So we are all one universal creator, one universal creation, and we are all interconnected. We cannot be divided. And this division is actually harming the human race. We need to come together. And this is what's happening. And I feel blessed that if I serve other human being. If I feel that I need to serve only Sikhs, then I feel a very small person. But when I start serving everybody equally, then I think I become big like universe, because universe serves us all. Air flows, we are all enjoying. Sun shines, we are all enjoying. And now with this pandemic, every religion, people from no faith, people believe in God, and people don't believe in God, they are all suffering. The one thing with nature is does not discriminate. All of us humans, we do discriminate, and we need to come out of discrimination. We need to be like nature. We need to be like God. When people don't believe in God, they call it nature. Be like nature. Nature doesn't discriminate. So why we discriminate? Why we have to always pick up on the very, there are few things we might won't have similar. but rest 99% we are similar. We might have a bit of different color or different language or different belief system, but that's a minor thing. 99% we are same. So we need to pick up the common things and serve humanity. There's another person I want to share with you. His name is Jitendra Singh Shanti. I mean, you can all type in his name, and his organization is, uh, I think, Shaheed Bhagat Singh Sevadal. And this guy is dealing with hundreds of bodies every day. I was reading yesterday in Independent. I mean, you can report, there's a lovely report on him on Independent, it's a full sort of full page. He has not slept for many nights. He's sleeping in his car outside graveyard, and he's cremating hundreds of families, hundreds of bodies, and he would not go home. Yet he suffered earlier on in the pandemic from COVID. His son suffered from COVID. COVID. His wife suffered from COVID. They all recovered. Then they went back to serving the humanity. I mean, here I would want my son to a businessman or a doctor or something, but this gentleman sends his son to London to study what? Human resources, disaster management. So here is people are so committed for the human race, and I feel proud that we know those people, and anything we can do for those people, we should do our utmost. Uh, there's another organization, Khalsa 8. I mean, you must have heard about Ravi Singh. He's doing a wonderful job. And I lately learned only a couple of days back, his account blocked on the Facebook because he's the best humanitarian on the planet Earth. And yet these big organizations, I don't know, listen to governments and they look at the business interests. And they don't promote those people or actually put hurdles in their way. This is quite disturbing. And we all need to speak up against this type of behavior where a charitable institution was working. I think Ravi Singh was working with the farmer education, and India government didn't like it and got him banned from the Facebook in India. So we all need to speak up for those people who's marginalized, who talk about the humanity and serving humanity. I think that's the best thing to do. The other organization working hard, again, this was on the BBC, uh, Hemkund Society in Bombay and Delhi. They have served so many people with oxygen hunger and other necessities. I think we all need to come together to 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 help those who are in distress. The real story of India hasn't come out yet because there are many more deaths as government recording. When I was reading an article on NDTV, there were 400 plus 500 deaths in Bangalore only. Bodies were burned every day, and the government was reporting 150 deaths or 170 or 120 deaths. So the real numbers, I think, are in millions of people dying in India, and governments are hiding. They are not being humanists. I think we need to all uh, need to get help to those whose distress. We need to talk to our governments. Western governments can do a lot more, and and the Indian authorities need to get their act together to help people. The basic thing, oxygen, is running out from a month, nearly a month now. So I think those things we need to work on and get more help. Uh, I mean, as an institution, we've been throughout the year, we've been working with the different organizations. Satwinder Singh has personally got involved with many organizations. He always asked me to get involved, and we do our utmost. Throughout the pandemic, even the Gurdwara was closed, our office line was open. So any call comes from help, we've been helping without making a list of how many helps we have done. Because I personally don't believe that it shouldn't be uh, about advertising what we are doing. It's just doing things and helping others so we can, if any human being we help, it's going to be one more pain in the society. And if we can make anybody happy, I think it makes us happy. And that's the only way we can serve God through his human race. And I think I said enough. So I'll let everybody else to share in. Thank you very much for having me, and thank you allowing me to speak to you.
Thank you, Mr. Hanzara, for that. It was quite an eye opener. What you said is truly what the picture is at this point. Just to share some facts, the death the death toll of the daily death toll had kind of was peaking a few days ago, but it's again rising. Yesterday's number was around 3,989. And this is not the real figure as we believe, because in India, not every number is counted. That's what we've been given to believe right now. But the recorded number is 3,989 people have sadly passed away in a day.
I just want to share you one more example. My dear friend died 3 years ago in a car accident. His wife just died, and his son is 28 of years age, still in hospital, suffering from COVID. And that we have to record under heart attack, because one of his son lives in UK. He wouldn't get visa because that is a UP state. If we put on this, ask authorities, the lady died from COVID, they would not let anybody come and join in. So we had to put death as a heart attack in order to get that boy to India so he can do last rites. So this is the real picture. And his son, we were not able to declare as a COVID sufferer. And the boy is still in hospital on oxygen. So what is happening in UP, the government, they had decided they would not record anything under COVID. So that's happening in thousands, nothing get recorded
Not
under
getting
COVID.
recorded.
They get recorded under other illnesses. So that's a real picture.
Yes.
It's very painful, but
It is. It
nothing
is.
can
The
do.
distressing pictures online are just heart wrenching. In fact, looking at that today with mass crematoriums, hospitals, people in ambulances on the street. Yes, the government has come up with express oxygen express. I think that's the reason they've started with a special railway line taking oxygen to the major cities. And also you have the railways who have now come in and put in beds, but I don't know how far it's really supporting the extremely huge population that we have in India. A lot of initiative has also been taken by groups out of India, sending support there. And I think even Mr. Satwinder's group, the SGSS, has sent around 300 oxygen, or is it the South Hall branch, which has sent 300 oxygen, you call it oxygen
concentrators, yeah.
Concentrators, yes.
Yeah.
So around 300 have been sent, and there's a target of another 200 to be sent more, and we're looking at working on that. So yeah, the death toll is not what is, the numbers are not what is visible to us. It's a lot more than what we're seeing. At the moment, the total death number, the total number of people who have passed away with COVID has been 414,000. In comparison to the population that we have. So
the other thing we need to remember is the logistics of these deliveries. I remember day before yesterday, Khasa Aid's shipment went to Delhi, a British Airways flight full of COVID-related stuff went to Delhi, but Delhi airport has not released that to general public yet. So everything is being held at Delhi airport. So politics is playing a big, crucial part in outsourcing these things. Now, where this is going to end up is questionable, but we, in good faith, are doing our level best, but the politics within India is hindering our progress. And I think the politicians here need to escalate that. They need to open their eyes. They need to communicate with Indian authorities. Now, there are obviously trade deals going on. Just to protect those trade deals, humanitarian is falling much lower on their ladders.
Yeah, that's a sad picture
Mm.
back home in India. I also like to touch on an incident that you mentioned, sending someone from the UK back home to India to perform the last rites was not possible because it had, so hence the death had to be recorded as a different uh, issue and not COVID.
Yep.
This is something which we've been seeing happening a lot in India because, and it's become more like a taboo. And our communities in the UK, families in the UK are uh, are also affected by this because you can't go back and visit your family. Uh, those who know that there is a way around it, and to do that, they're the ones who are reaching their loved ones at this point. But those who don't are have got just feeling hopeless here. And just the other day I was talking to another family. We've also lost someone in our close family back home in India. But reaching families, especially when you have your families spread across the globe, and you have parents back home, reaching out and supporting them has become a problem and a big issue. So how are we helping communities here in the UK, or any organization supporting these families here who are suffering? Are we doing something for them?
Anyone who approaches us, yes, we put our hands out. We do what we can within our own ability. If not, we've got a network within Hounslow Borough. We can contact and put them in touch. So we are doing our level best at local level.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Hanzara and Satwinder?
Can I come in?
Yes, please, Mr. Jags.
Yeah,
Same here.
Satwinder, what was Satwinder was saying, it touched on me, and it wasn't so much directly the COVID situation now, but it was the overall about humanity. And I remember a couple of years back, I was going through Southall Broadway, and the guy who set up one of the first sort of um, food outlets in Southall was a gentleman by the name of Afzal Khan. And my dad worked with him in a factory. And I recognized him. I was only a young boy, and I stopped him, and we just said, "How are you, uncle?" And he just, he goes from Pakistan and comes back to and fro many times a year. And we just got talking, and we just got into reminiscing about old days in '80s and stuff, as you do. And he said something which has really, really stuck with me, and it's touched on Satwinder's point. He said, "Jag," he said, "when we came to England," he goes, '60s, like your grandfather, me, others. He goes, "we had one community center, which was on Shackleton Road. And that was the meeting point when Southall and Hounslow and other areas." He goes, "we used to come there Sunday, and that was the point." And he goes, "Now," he goes, "I think just if you add up Hounslow and Southall Ealing together, most probably over 150 different faith buildings, all on top of each other, so many opening every corner, people fighting to open because it's about status." But his point was, he said, we were closer then when we were in one building than we are now. And that's nothing to do with faith buildings as such. But what's happened, he goes, was if we had differences, we could talk to each other of different faiths. So if I didn't understand something about Sikhism or the Muslim religion, etc., and we might not agree fully, but he goes, at least I understood and had a chance to ask. He goes, now, because everyone's in their own, he goes, there's nothing to challenge each other. There's no conversation to look at a different perspective. So if somebody says that's the right way, everybody nods their head almost. And I just wanted to share that because it still touches me that in a way, whilst progress has been made for 30, 40 years in terms of the output of grandeur and buildings and bigger and taller and everything else, the deepness of the actual issue of understanding and tolerance and respect were actually formed better when we were together. and because we had no choice, it was together. By splitting, it's actually crazy. Look, that's the discussion that took place, and it really hit me. Others might disagree, but I just wanted to share that. And this moment in time is brought it back, because lots of people are doing so much, and without looking at creed, color, or anything. But I think understanding is still the issue, and people are afraid to challenge or ask questions. And unless they're informed, you do create these divides, not deliberately usually, but it's inevitable, that that's going to happen, and it's a sad thing. But I just wanted to share that anyway.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Jags. I totally agree. We've broken humanity into various divides, like you've said, countries. We're looking at religion. We are looking at states. We're looking at religion. We're looking at so many kinds of divides. Now there's an issue in India, or there's an issue in the UK, or there's an issue anywhere in the world. It's basically humans hurting, and yes, we are seeing a lot of organizations coming together to support them. How best we're going to go ahead and add more support to, lift these groups, would just show how human we are. Would anyone else want?
Yeah,
to
basically, to echo on to what Jag was saying, I mean, I read recently, it said, we are all humans until race disconnected us, religion separated us, politics divided us, and wealth classified us. We've got so many different layers of discriminating one another, which to us Sikhs is not acceptable. It's a shame that we've come to this stage. And what the solution is, it's beyond me at the moment.
Can I just say something? I think I agree with what everyone's saying, particularly that we are all one. And actually, there is nothing that separates us apart from our attitudes. And I think what's really important is, even if we put the humanitarian side aside for a moment, and look at it from a governmental perspective, we have a pandemic, right? The pandemic can only be managed if every single country on our planet is vaccinated. Let's take aside the anti-vaxxers for a minute. We do know that vaccinations appear to be, at this moment in time, working in this country, in Israel. So I'm just thinking, shouldn't we, obviously we all have a right to not have a vaccine, but those who want a vaccine, this should be made available throughout the world, not just in the USA, not just in Israel, not just in the UK. Because if you look at the map, it's very much a Western world that has been given the privilege of a vaccine. And it's countries like India who are actually supplying vaccines to us. And also Africa, who really should be, we're all equal, we're all one. So I find it very upsetting that that the governments, I'm afraid it's a governmental issue, the governments aren't all working together to ensure that every single one of us on the planet is safe and cared for, and that it doesn't cost money.
Yeah, Parul, every one of us should have the opportunity to make that choice to take that vaccination. Yeah, there are anti-vaxxers, but that's their choice again. And although it would serve humanity for everyone to go ahead and get that opportunity. Right now, the three major areas that India is lacking in is oxygen, number one, hospital beds, and vaccines. Even though they're the major suppliers of vaccines, my own family, half of my family could get the vaccine, the others don't have the vaccine and are in waiting. So yeah, but they are trying to work around this. With the population being that huge, I think that's also another issue. Just giving some points to the government, but I think it could have been managed a lot better. Sharanji, do you have something to say? Put your hand up there.
Yeah, I would like to say, really feel proud of Mr. Hazara Singh and all the Sikh community, how hard they are all working. I mean, all of us had COVID here once. I mean, now our families are going through the COVID. So basically, all the British Sikh families are going through COVID twice. It's not easy to accept to, and mentally and physically, it's really draining. I mean, I had in the beginning of COVID, my brother-in-law died already. So I mean, there were must be many people like myself have their loved one died. So I mean, we are going through basically all the Sikh community is going through COVID twice, and all the Indian people also going through COVID twice. It's not an easy thing to handle at all. But I'm proud of our Sikh community, how they always come up in front line and support the word the way they come. There are many communities, but Sikh community is always accountable and number one to support people. So really, it's maybe it's a blessing to be born as a Sikh. I'm proud of these two gentlemen, how they are trying to provide so much support. I mean, Mr. Hajara Singh, I have contacted him many times in before as well. They are so helpful to the community. They go out of their ways to help the community, and I'm really proud of the Sikh people.
Thank you, Sharanjit. By what you said, the people in the UK are going through COVID twice. I think you mean that we're feeling the same kind of pain what India is going through again, uh, which is what I'd like to now move to in our discussion is how are we taking care of the people here, our Indian community and the communities, the BAME community here who have got families back home in their countries who are going through a difficult phase. So the organizations here, what kind of support are we offering them in terms of advice or anything if they need to get back
Uh,
home?
we as a sunshine of counselor, offering counseling to the people. So regular counseling, also getting in touch with the people on regular basis. I mean, there's so many people I myself know as well because I've been in this area over 42 years, but there are so many which are not outreach in within us. But feel so sorry for the people what they're going through at the moment. It's very hard times. It's really tough times for all the families here.
Noika?
Sorry, Raila, can I
Yeah.
come back to you in a moment? I think Mr. Hanzara
Sure,
has his
sure.
hand up there.
Yeah, yeah.
No. Yeah, what I was going to say is basically, obviously, we've been talking about this, and we are obviously very blessed to be in the West where we are being vaccinated. We are following a procedure. Whereas in India, I've been speaking to close colleagues up there uh, who work in hospitals and they are giving vaccinations to the public, and the public is returning within a couple of days and collapsing. And that's because they are not being given vaccinations, they are being given blank shots. So the
So
trust and responsibility within the medical professionals and the government, they have to take a lot of responsibility and ownership, accountability for that. Which is why I think this is a global challenge, and we should not be ashamed of naming and shaming the governments or countries where these things are failing. And these things are obviously failing in a lot of developing countries. And India is not a developing country. It claims to be a developed country. It needs to be highlighted that things going wrong in there, the government at the end of the day is accountable for it. And we should not be supporting the government in such matters.
yeah, I've heard this before. I don't know personally on on it myself, but I have heard information like that of blank shots being given, not only in India, but also in some of the African countries. And we've seen videos of them circulated around the media, but I don't know of the authenticity of that. But I also know of another very, very, uh, at least through personal experience, a lot of cases of people getting treatment and coming back and collapsing with a heart attack. I don't know what's that due to, or whether it's just COVID, and the side effect of COVID and affecting the organs there. But yes, we need to look at that, and if we can go ahead and put this to our leaders to then take this information back when we're supporting them. Anyone else with any points to discuss at this
Yeah.
point?
Noika?
Yes,
Yeah.
Raila, sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Thank you so much, Satvinder and Mr. Hanzara, for all the information you shared. I'm from Kashmir, and I know how Sikh organizations, and particularly Khalsa and others, they support people irrespective of their political ideology, irrespective of their religion. When Article 370 was abolished, the Sikh community who came forward and supported Kashmiris, whether arranging tickets, whether arranging relief and providing them shelter when they got stuck in rest of India and they were facing some hate crimes as well. It was the Sikh community, Khalsa, and they supported. So the why I said this, because some of the organizations, mostly charities, they don't support sometimes when it's a political issue is there, but it is Sikh community, Sikh people who really support. Thank you so much for such a work you are doing. And parole regarding this vaccination, I came recently a report on BBC that only the Serum Institute, they were ordered only 20 million vaccines. And though we know India has a population of 1.5 billion. So that means Indian government is also, taking everything very lightly, not taking very seriously, having election rallies and all that stuff. So that has also impacted on increase in COVID and those cases, and to ruling government tweeting like, if we vote, we will provide you vaccine. So that is really disastrous. And, it is really impacting badly on whole population. Yeah, that is just, my thoughts and my sharing.
Thank you, Raila. I think you've hit the nail at the right spot. I think it's the recent rallies and the religious celebrations that happened, which has been one of the major cause of this huge spike, or the second wave, I guess. Total, belief that COVID is never going to reach and touch them. Yeah, I think you have hit the reason of this major spike.
There was also the point about not just the rallies, but the cricket tournaments, the weddings. I mean, I've seen even people from my own village back, they were carrying on. And, 6, 8 weeks ago, they were asking, why is the UK, not doing this? Why can't we have our weddings? And, because I had lots of weddings this side cancelled still. And now, obviously, it's all come back and had an impact on all these events, whatever their reasons was. But my friends at work, it's interesting. When people say the figures are incorrect from India, and I believe they are, but a lot of my friends from this country, they say, how can that be? India is a developed country. What do you mean it's incorrect? Is somebody fiddling the figures? I said, no. I said, we're dealing with a country that if you ask them, how many people die on your roads in accidents per day, they cannot give you that figure.
Yeah.
So how will they ever be able to, even if they wanted to, be able to tell you the accurate figure on a fast-moving situation like COVID? I said they just wouldn't. In the UK, they would know to the minute what has happened. There's been several fatal accidents today in the UK. This is where they took it. But I said it just doesn't work, and people can't grasp that because they do see India as, it's moved on. But when you say to them they can't give you numbers or even close to accurate, they don't really sort of get it. But going back to the point earlier made by, I can't remember who it was, but even in Europe, it's not as rosy as things. I have my Masis and people in Germany and Canada. my Masi in Canada went to her first vaccination 2 weeks ago. She got to this place and it was shut. And the sign said, sorry, go back online to rebook. We've run out of vaccine. And she rang and she said, I can't believe it that I'm in Canada and they've run out. There's just there's nothing. So even though the West, I know is obviously way ahead, but I think we still got to acknowledge that there is pockets of still major issues in whether it's Germany, France, and even Canada and other places where they might not be in the news, but it's nowhere near as bad as India, but there are still other massive problems as well elsewhere.
So true, Jag. In fact, what you just mentioned, we can't really give you exact figures. I was just having this similar conversation with my colleagues the other day. It's the population that we're dealing with in India. It's not an easy number. So if you're talking about having safe distance, maintaining that 2-meter distance between each other, it's never going to happen. If you walk onto the street in Hong Kong or New York or in America, you're only in the cities, you would find people, as highly packed as they are all over in India. So having to look after that huge a population, even in a developed country, is going to come with a lot of challenges. And if you look at the queues that are forming for vaccination, they're practically one on top of the other. So, Indian government may be trying to get as many vaccinated, but the sharing of the virus while they're in the queues is also an issue, that they have to deal with. So it isn't the rosiest picture, but like you said, it's not only in India or, some of our Western countries too are facing it, because the population we're dealing with here is smaller. And so it's not getting as highlighted as it is in India with the numbers being that huge. Would anyone else want to share at this point?
Numbers and statistics is one thing, but I think responsibility of being honest and assisting is another thing. Numbers
Absolutely.
we can play around with, it's an accountable element.
Yeah,
Some
exactly.
nations have done really well. I mean, look at the China. I mean, everybody criticized China, but I admire them. The situation when they started in China. So, and since then, they have the bigger population than India. They have controlled really well.
Yes.
People like, there are other nations very congested, like Singapore and Hong Kong, places like Indonesia and places like Malaysia. They are very congested. They have big populations. They are managing properly. So there are many nations who, I think India, politicians are to be blamed. They took it too lightly. They were every day throughout the year, Prime Minister of India having a one rally every 7 days.
Exactly.
And 50,000 to 100,000 people were gathering together. And the gentleman did not visit a single hospital in whole year. So they can't get the blame. I mean, if there is an international court and these politicians should be tried for the murder of that many people, I would go that far in fairness. But I would not. I would not, because that's India's internal matter. But they are my brothers and sisters. They are my big family. As I said earlier, I believe in oneness of humanity. So for me, religion does not matter. To me, all humans are my family, and I have a duty towards everybody. And this is what we've been taught. This is what been taught by Guru himself. Guru himself wrote, compassion is the essence of this whole word. Guru said, Thol dharam daya ka put, that there was a myth that there's a bull is holding the earth on the horns. And Guru said, no, that's the dharma. Dharma means righteousness. The righteousness is holding that earth, planet Earth. And all of us, if we work through compassion and do something for a fellow human being, I think this place could be a very better, beautiful place to live in. And that's what we need to learn. Thank you.
Thank you. That was really very well said. Thank you, Mr. Hanzara, for that. It is so true. Thank you.
I was
I'd
just
like to.
Can I just, so there's this real, I mean, this sort of just thought it, and obviously it's not really for discussion in this particular debate, but there's, there's human rights, and it's, we can control the virus more effectively when we restrict human rights. And there's this balance, isn't there? We in this country have been aware of how our rights have been eroded. China is very good at restricting the virus, because you wouldn't dare, you wouldn't dare do something that the Chinese government told you that they didn't want you to do. Hong Kong as well, despite it being British still. So there's this real balance. This has brought up so many different issues, which we could talk about for ages, but we've really got to be mindful, because we've all been aware of the lack of human rights that we've had to deal with over the last year or so. Food for thought.
Yeah, for Parul, totally. I do remember seeing a video of a Chinese individual being whipped for not, taking that vaccine. So yeah, human rights was totally disregarded there. Amrit, yes, you have your hand up there.
Hi, yeah. I think I agree with Parul there with regards to some countries treating the virus in a draconian way, draconian kind of matter, where they force the public to do a certain thing. I think a good example, I sent my dad to Thailand during the first lockdown quickly. We have a good relationship with the Thai government. And Thailand, I think, is a very good example of how they've been able to manage the virus in a very, very good way. They only get like 200-300 cases, maybe in a month or to 3 months, and they're really panicking about that, and they deal with it in a very, very good way. But I think it's a mixture, like you said, of finding that balance where it's not a draconian mindset, but it's also there's like common kind of manners that people follow. For example, in Thailand, so if you're in a bus or in a tube, nobody would talk, not because they're told not to talk, because they just know, maybe it's not the best thing to do while there's a pandemic going on. So I think there's a mixture of kind of culture, understanding, and the way they hold themselves, and they're a bit more prepared for the pandemic in countries like that. So I think it is a mixture of, like you said, having human rights where you're not being forced to do certain things, but also just having the common courtesy and common manners for people around us, like Mr. Hanzara was saying, of having empathy and compassion and love and thinking about other people rather than just thinking about yourself. Having that balance where you're not forced to do something, but you're not doing something because you care about other people. So I think we are kind of struggling in UK with that a little bit, because and not in a bad way. I love the fact that UK is so diverse. I really do love that. But I think that also has a downside sometimes, because there's loads of people who don't want to communicate with each other because there's a lot of segregation. So they always feel there's a barrier to go across it. They don't feel it's the same type of person they have to deal with. Whereas sometimes when you're in a country such as Thailand, for example, the Thai government are very protective of their own culture and their own kind of people. For example, if you want to do business in Thailand, you're not allowed to just buy property there. You have to buy property with 50% of a Thai citizen. So Thailand government's all about protecting the Thai citizens. So I think that ideology and that method has passed down onto kind of a common ground for everyone. So they all kind of care and think about each other. Where I think in UK, I think we're very segregated, which is a shame. And I don't share that mindset. I think we should all feel a unity with everyone. But I think because we have so much segregation, so much culture coming into UK, there are those walls coming up. And I think that's why there's miscommunication. Even in your own neighborhood, sometimes, it's beautiful that we have Russians, we have Polishes, we have lots of Germans, we have Sikhs, we have Indians, we have Pakistanis, we have so many different people. And unfortunately, it's just that mindset that we need to cross over, where there is that complete and utter unity, and we do start feeling empathy and sympathy for other people, and that wall's completely abolished. But I have now seen a positive from this, especially in the karate classes that we do, because we have a mixture of cultures. where this pandemic is now bringing everyone in a state of unity. So I think there is a plus point to this whole pandemic as well, because now it is forcing us to feel there is no difference between any of us. Any of us can categorize. We need to start thinking for each other. And that was the last point that I wanted to come across. When we're teaching in the martial arts, the schools and things like that, I'm getting so many parents coming together who would never talk to each other before. They would never actually sit and stand and talk to each other, but they found a common ground. And now the pandemic, what's it forcing people to do is to come together, obviously, not together in terms of, social distancing, but come together as a community and break those walls down. So I have found that personally, when we've opened up the classes, that is a massive positive thing that I've seen come back from this whole kind of pandemic that we've had.
Absolutely. In fact, I think the pandemic has lifted the human touch in a lot of people, have become more human, and some who have actually, ignored it. So there's two ways to it, but yes, it has brought the community. People now want to interact with others.
Definitely.
Otherwise, there were times when we would just see people sitting at a restaurant with a phone, and now people want to put their gadgets away and actually interact. They're missing that human touch.
100%. I've seen it firsthand. I've seen parents who would stand outside waiting for the children, and they would never talk to each other. And now we're seeing them talk to each other and find empathy and find that sympathy and connect with each other and find out what can we do together to make this this situation resolved. And it's a beautiful thing to see. I mean, I'm seeing it.
That's one of the really good points that you've brought out there, which has actually changed us all. I do see your hand, but I think Mary has just moved away from the camera. Yes, Mary, you had something to say. Thank you, Amrit, for that. Thank you for those amazing insights. Thank you. Mary? You're on mute.
I couldn't remember where I left it. It's been strange for me because I'm glued to the screen all the time, not being very fit. And since Boris said that we could only go out for a walk, my husband's been marching me off to the park every day. And then I noticed, so we're passing people all the time, we're seeing people in the park, and I noticed children having a whale of a time whizzing round on bicycles and scooters, but also when I don't remember before the way that we ever acknowledged anybody when we pass them in the street. We have to sort of stand aside and people either say thank you or just, smile or bow. And I also find I'm talking to strangers, I'm always looking into prams to see the beautiful babies and noticing the children on their daddy's shoulders and all that. So it's actually opened up for me. It's opened up a lot that I know I am very embarrassing, at times, but for my husband. But it's like we've got more permission to acknowledge each other. That's one point I wanted to make. But also, I am a bit baffled about these anti-vaxxers. I'm in a sort of, I know lots of activists, and I see these messages going on. And somebody did a recording about somebody phoned up to say you haven't had your jab. This guy is 60 something, and he was proudly publicizing this recording of her. Like when you get a spam call and it's like you can just put the phone down or you can play them along a bit. And he was treating this phone call from somebody who was saying, but you haven't booked for your jab, sort of heckling her. And he was saying, now, which which kind of jab am I going to have? And she didn't know the answer. And in the end, she said, I better just end the call. And he thought it was ever so clever. And I heard that social media is telling the BAME communities more than they are the white communities that, you know, to be suspicious of the vaccine. So I wonder if you know anything about that. What, you know, why is that happening in the BAME communities?
I've had some. Can I answer? Could I? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
we can hear you, Ahmed. Yes.
Okay, great. We have got some classes in Southall and got some parents sharing their views and opinions, and a lot of the BAME community in Southall have ideology in their mind, and they think this is like almost like a government conspiracy to almost kind of eradicate some or get track of some of the immigrants who have come in illegally sometimes as well. Unfortunately, it's sometimes that mindset that gets caught on to them thinking that the government is after them. The government is trying to kind of lock down on these legal immigrants and people who are working here and don't have the right to do that as well. Alongside that, a lot of people have a distrust for the government for some reason or other. They believe that the vaccine is not good for you health-wise and it's going to have long-term health effects. So unfortunately, it is a mindset that, you know, we're all, even myself, trying to speak to them and convince them that there's a common ground and, you know, tell them that there's been a lot of research and a lot of development and it's there to help you. But I think it's a extreme paranoia that a lot of people do share. And it's not just also the BAME community. There is a lot of YouTube videos out there as well that even I've been sent that say that the COVID vaccine is a massive conspiracy to kind of, you know, change your DNA or to have something change inside your body so that, you know, you'll become fertile and you can't have kids and things like this. So there's loads and loads of conspiracies, not specifically always directed to the BAME community, but to general public and specifically to the youth as well. I mean, I'm 30 years old. I'm not exactly old yet, but, you know, I am getting sent these videos. And it is by a lot of people who I went to school with, and you know, younger people, where they feel that there's a big conspiracy.
I think Amrit's point is absolutely right. That's a big issue. For those that don't know, last week, the Park Avenue Gurdwara had the car park. They had the NHS vaccination bus exercise. Now that was fought for very hard, targeting particularly those people that Amrit's just touched upon, who maybe feel that the state is watching them. So they might be undocumented. They may not have the right documents to be in the country. They may not have an NHS number. So there was a lot of people involved in that with the council and others to persuade the NHS to put this bus on. And I know that the lead person from the NHS eventually said, let's trial it. And they expected single-digit numbers to turn up. They said, we'll run it from 10 till 3 on a Friday, and we'll see what happens. And they didn't really have high expectations. The bus was due to open at 10. At 9:30, there were 120 people queuing outside. By 3 o'clock, they had done 341 people. They had to stop because the staff hadn't stopped non-stop and direct a further 150 people to the Dominion Centre down the road. And that just, what it highlighted was to them, the scale of the hidden population in West London. They could not believe what was happening in front of them. And going back to the point about anti-vax, one protester did turn up and he was agitating these people, telling them not to take it with placards and stuff. And I was watching, and the NHS staff obviously could only tackle him so much, but the Gurdwara staff did come out and sort of deal with it eventually. But by then he'd gone through the crowd and eventually the police did turn up. But what was interesting was not a single person from all that queue left the queue. And I was so happy because I was panicking, thinking these people are already on edge. They're going to start leaving. And not a single person left. And it was really interesting that once they had made their mind up that they were in a safe zone, Nothing was going to stop them from getting the vaccine.
Thank you, Jags, for that. I will come back to you, Tom. We did have quite a few sessions at the beginning when we started Cash to deal with this, promoting the take-up of COVID vaccine. We have created a site. I put the link on the chat. If you need resources in different languages, videos, for people who are hard of hearing or need larger prints, we've got resources for where you can use that and take it to your communities and take it down further. So I'll put the link down there.
Can I just,
Tom, yes, sorry, Parul.
I just wanted to just say regarding this sort of conspiracy theories, this is just my point of view. The government's just not smart enough to do all of the stuff that people think they are. They're just spending their time arguing over wallpaper at number 11. We don't have the technology yet to track us all. It may, we don't know what's going to happen about DNA. We don't know that yet. They just haven't. They're just not there. They have not got the technology. We do not have the sophistication to do any of that. And it really is just people frightening other people. I mean, if you look at it, look what's been going on politically. We had the boys fighting near Jersey with big boats, telling fishermen to go away. They really aren't doing that. I also was in charge of the census, and I had to have these same discussions that the government really doesn't, we don't track that much. In fact, there are a lot of people in this country, Jags, as you said, that we don't know about, and we never will know about, and we don't need to know about, So I was just being a little bit political, but I'll be quiet now.
Just a funny point on that. There was an Indian actor, and he's made a little video, and it's worked really well. And he's basically saying, listen, if your work, because the conspiracy theory was that the vaccine will track you. It's like a chip. It will be able to monitor where you're going, what you're doing. So this actor basically stood up and he said, listen, I'm having it anyway. But even if it was, he goes, I wouldn't be worried about it. And he opened his jacket pocket and he pulled out his mobile phone and said, see this thing? It does a far better job of tracking you and what you're doing than any vaccine ever will. So don't worry about it. And I just thought the funny side of it actually was like, actually, we're carrying something that tracks us anyway, which is far more invasive than any vaccine could ever be, even if the technology was there.
Yeah, if any of us commit a crime, the police will be at our door in a heartbeat.
Thank you. Tom, being mindful of the time, I'd just run through the people who put their hands up. Tom, and then Mr. Hanzara, Satwinder, your hand up after Tom.
I'll be very quick. Thank you very much. And thank you for such an interesting discussion. And I was very interested to hear about what the Sikh community is doing. I think the problem we've got at the Mulberry Centre is a cancer information support service. And we've got a huge problem with people not going for cancer treatment and not actually getting the diagnosis. So they don't get the diagnosis to come to us. We've heard, and I won't regale you with them now because I think we've all had quite a lot of awful tales. But I mean, we've had awful tales of people sometimes waiting years, which obviously started before the COVID pandemic, but waiting years without getting a diagnosis, suspecting that they had an issue and then getting the diagnosis, and then there's nothing they can do about it. The cancer's untreatable. And so I would just ask all of you, and I think some people on this call are in perfect positions to address huge members of the community. The BAME community, I know that terminology is not particularly well liked, and I quite understand why. But that community does not tend to come and get checked out and get the diagnoses and access the kind of support we can give. And so if there is anything that anyone can do to just get the name out, to get the message out there that they need to, not just for COVID, but we're a cancer charity, but lots and lots of very significant illnesses have just been put aside. And that's unrealistic. Illnesses aren't put aside. They're still just as many people are getting cancer as always have done, but they're not accessing the help that's there. So if anyone can help just getting the message out there that we're still open, we're still running, we're still available, that would be extremely helpful. So I think that's all I would say. Sorry, one more thing I would say very, very quickly is I think you're right. Mobile phones track us far better than anything else, but London is the most CCTV surveilled city. So I would be far more worried about what the CCTV cameras are looking at than any COVID tracking that's going on. But anyway, thanks very much for your opportunity.
Thank you, Tom. And yes, this is the forum where we would like to, share what we do. And I'm sure the message you have will be taken ahead. Did Mr. Satwinder have his hand up?
If I could just come in for a minute. Now,
Yeah.
during this pandemic, before it started, we obviously volunteered with the local authorities in doing lots of things. We made our car park available for the testing. Our sewing group, we made the scrubs for the doctors, for the NHS. And I just wanted to expand on what Jag was saying. The Hanslow Gurdwara is going to be providing vaccinations on the 19th of May for the whole day. So if you could spread the word, 19th of the May, Hanslow Gurdwara will be vaccinating people, and we will not restrict them to those having NHS number. Those without an NHS number as well, we will vaccinate them as well. On 19th of November.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that
Thank
first
you.
vaccination only? Yeah.
That's the first dose of the vaccination. Yeah, for anyone. Yeah, for anyone.
If there's any poster or something we can put on social media, if you can share that, or
yes, NHS
we-
has just provided us with that one. I can pass it on to Nyoka, who can spread it amongst the community. Yeah.
thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Satwinder. Yes, we'd be happy to do that and also put it on our website where we can promote it further. Being mindful of the time, and I'm sorry, I skewed the agenda because I was a little excited after seeing Mr. Hanzara and Satwinder ready to have their presentation, and I forgot to introduce my colleagues and what they had to say. If there's anything to discuss at this point, can we take it post their presentation? I'd like to give the floor to Ian to give some updates on funding, please. Ian? Ian, you're on mute.
Ian, are you all right?
I just
just
threw
sharing
ball
my
at
screen
him
for
without getting him ready. I'm sorry about that.
You've just got a cardboard cutout there, haven't you?
Yeah, so I'm going to do a funding update this afternoon at 2:30. So if you want more information, come along to that. Just to highlight some events coming up. So next Wednesday is 19th of May. There's an event with the council on their community solutions, a One Hounslow Connect event. So you can find out more about their community solutions offer. They are the next round of the the council's currently doing a VCSE survey of the sector. There's a prize draw if you take part. I'll send the link. I'll send this information to people with the link. I think it's useful to give feedback to the council on the needs of the sector so they can amend their policies. The council's also, there's a couple of events coming up relating to the next round of the Thriving Communities Fund, Hounslow Council Community Grants. The council event is going to be on next Friday morning on Microsoft Teams, 10 to 11:30. We've also got an event next Wednesday about the Thriving Communities Fund, 11 AM to 12. You can sign up on Eventbrite. And like I said, I'm doing a funding update with a bit more detail this afternoon. But I've got these slides, so I'll send the slides to people to go through them to see any relevant funding. And that's the end of my update. Thanks.
Thank you, Ian. Sorry for throwing that ball so quickly at you and not informing you before. My next person to give an update would be Jane. Jane, can I have your updates on digital championship? Jane is the digital champion for at CVS.
Hello, everyone. It's been such an interesting presentation today, and so good to see you all again. Just a short update to say that, you know, the digital capacity building project is making progress. We've made contact with quite a number of groups at this point and have got digital champions who are making a real difference to our local groups in Hounslow. If anyone is interested in participating in the program, I'm putting a contact form into the chat, so please send it to me. The link is there. If you'd like some support or more information, send me a note on the contact form. And in addition, I'd just like to invite everyone to perhaps put forward individuals from within your organization that you feel would make good digital champions for yourselves. So if you have somebody who is working with you, either as a staff member or as a volunteer, and you think that they have the potential to become digital champions within your organization, please do send them my way. And again, I will put into the chat the link for them to apply. So we're looking for anybody who has some interest in technology. It could be that they love being on Facebook. It could be that they're just confident IT users. If they know how to turn on a computer, send them my way and we will set them up as digital champions to support your local community. This is specifically within Hounslow at the moment. Alongside that, we're also looking at recruiting digital champions who are younger people. So what has happened during lockdown is a lot of our sixth formers and college level students haven't been able to do their work experience. Please do encourage them to apply to be a digital champion, because this will give them opportunity to do some really amazing work with one of the local groups. Again, I am putting in another link. Send them our way. We'll train them to be digital champions and put them out back into the community. I'm not going to talk anymore because what we've done today has been amazing. Has anybody got questions?
Hello, Jane.
Hi, Sharonjeet. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. The things with Eddie hasn't been working very well yet. Eddie is sometimes she's busy, sometimes the website the problem is the password. We try to set a password, something not seems to be working right. But also she is a very good person, no complaints.
Yeah.
She's an excellent person.
So at the moment, Sharonjeet, you've got 2 digital champions working with you. Kulsim and Edrose, yeah. And I think they're both making some progress on both your website and one-to-one teaching and finding you equipment. Yeah, so we've had quite a few examples across the borough of work being done by our amazing digital champions.
Also, Karan has done really well for charity work. He's got one of our, he got us a grant for computers, so which is coming through very soon. So that was brilliant. And he's been really encouraged to do, by me, he's been really encouraged to do more and more charity work, and he's happy to do the more charity work. I tried to invite him on meetings, but he said he's not ready yet, but it's okay. He's picking up, which is good.
Yeah. So Karen is really one of our superstars.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane, for that update. Please click the link in the chat box to send your digital champions Jane's way. I'd quickly move, being mindful of the time, I'd quickly move to Parul, who would like to share some updates on the West Ealing Library opening. Over to you, Parul.
Hello, Jane. Just before I start, mine's very quick. Young people for digital champions. What about young at heart people?
We no, I absolutely, Parul. It is not exclusive to young people. We have digital champions of all ages, but particularly our young people are of a separate group because I provide a different level of support around young people.
Thanks, Jane.
Yes, thank you.
So just a very, very quick update for any Ealing groups that are here today. So West Ealing Library is going to be opened, not full-time, but part-time from June the 22nd. And with my volunteer lead hat on, which I've just put on, we are going to need volunteers for the library. So if you can think of anybody, could be anyone in your community that you're in contact with, I put my name in the chat. Please do contact me because there's various opportunities to work in the library, which we really want to be a thriving hub of community and connection and activity, and obviously reading because there's books in the library, but we just want it to be a place, when we're all allowed to be together more, a place to connect in. So if you can think of any volunteers who are in the Ealing area, I would love to have an informal interview with them. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Parul. I'm so sorry to rush through these 3 updates. Ian would be sending out his updates and the funding updates to each one who has attended the session today. Thank you, Jane and Parul. Sorry for skewing the agenda all around its head. If we'd like to go back to our discussion, anyone has any more questions for Satwinder or would like to share their experiences? We have another 5 minutes to discuss, after which we take a survey on the session we've had today. Yes, Jason?
Hey, can I just say hello to everybody? This is the first of these meetings that I've been to. I work for Each Counselling and Support. They're based in Ealing, but we work in Hounslow. And I'm just wondering to myself whether we've had a presence before here. The discussion so far has been really interesting. I'm very glad that I came. Just to let you know, what I do myself is I work on a project that provides training, support and courses freely to people so that they can get back into work. And my small team must be in contact with upwards of 50 people a week by phone because we keep regular contact with them. We're a mental health charity and we make lots of calls. So the information you're giving now is really useful to us and it will help us point people in that direction. The comments, the speech that we had at the beginning and the comments were really amazing, really interesting. And yes, I think COVID, although it has a lot of bad points, it certainly has made people think about things and brought people together in a way that hasn't happened, I don't think, previously, because we're all suffering in exactly the same way. So we suddenly found out that we have to look after each other. So basically I'm saying this is a great meeting, very useful. I hope I'm invited again. I'd love to come back, maybe be a bit more involved. But yeah, this has been really interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason, for that. Yes, you're more than welcome to join us every week. I will send out a link to you where you can register to our events, which run on Friday at between 10:30 and 12 every week, and we discuss different topics. I see there were 2 new people. One was Tom and Jason who have joined us today, and also Brad. Is Brad on here at the moment? Brad Taylor from Blue Summit.
Hi, I'm Brad
hello.
Taylor.
Welcome to the session.
Thank you. I'm just shadowing with Jane. I'm one of her digital assistants.
Okay. Well, welcome to the to Cash, and welcome to you, Tom and Jason as well. Sharanjit, you have your hand up. You're on mute. Or was it a hand before?
Sorry, I was the point I was going to put across. It will be very important for all of the organizations to have some training for counseling skills, because the mental health is on such an increase in Britain at the moment. If every organizations have at least one staff to do the counseling for the community as a volunteering counseling, like myself, it will be ideal to support our communities, because rather than go and wait for counseling professional counselors and pay a lot of money, so at least the small charities and small organizations can support a lot of the community themselves.
Sanji, there's a document, there's a mental health document that compiles the different places that people can go to see whether they're eligible, and I will send that to you after this meeting. All right.
Thank you, Sharanjit and Parul. Also, we're having a session on mental health and well-being on the 11th of June, where we would have, our community groups who are dealing and supporting mental health would be on here. So we'd also look at your suggestions, Sharanjit. Thank you. David, I forgot, you've also joined us today, David from Groundworks. Hello, welcome.
Hi, yeah, thank you for having me along, and it was so interesting to hear everything that people had to say. Yes, so I think I probably fit into the category for the mental health and well-being for next week. But just to say hello, and I will hopefully be able to talk a little bit about Together Hounslow, which is our mental health program that we've launched in partnership with each, actually. So it's nice to hear them speak as well. But yes, thanks again, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Thank you, David, and welcome to all those who've joined us this week for the first time. Please do join us next week. Before you go, I have a link put on to the chat box. I request you to please go ahead and click on that link and give us your feedback for the session today. It really would help us improve the session and also get feedback on it. So don't forget to click that link. I hope you've had a good session today. Have a lovely day ahead.
Thank you very much. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Goodbye. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Satwinder, for your time today, and Mr. Hanzara for your updates. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I'm hoping they've clicked the link or found the link on my chat. Or did I put it too late?
You can always send it out to the emails that were attended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're looking fresh, Jane, today. Very happy in the morning, bright-eyed, bushy tail.
Well, that's no
I wasn't talking
lie.
about that.
No lie. I'll see you later, Nyoka.
You take care. Bye-bye.